Today you will meet Mimi Bernard, her husband Wayne, and Wilma Wynn, the woman God used to show Mimi His love in action. Is it possible today to overcome difficult family life, especially influences when you were very, very young? Is it possible to give children values and stability and provide children opportunities for their spiritual growth? But what if you didn't have that? Can God still do His work in situations that don't meet His ideal design and His original intention? And can the church be family for people whose home is experiencing tremendous pressures, thereby reducing the opportunities that they might have to see things the way God would want them to see them? Mimi Bernard is going to bring a word of hope to us today, to you especially if your home life has not met ideal standards. Hello, I'm Randy Beckton. Welcome to Hope for Life's Journey. Growing up is hard to do in the best of times. When mom and dad are both there, are both helping to the best of their ability, it's hard. What about when there are negative pressures that are tearing at the fabric of families? What can we expect children to do if they don't have help, early role models, early guidance? Well, maybe today we can get partial answers that'll be helpful to you. Maybe we can learn how the church can be family to those who need family. Stay with us and we'll visit in just a moment.
Welcome to Hope for Life's Journey, bringing real hope and real answers to real life. A presentation of Herald of Truth Ministries.
We're visiting today with Mimi Bernard and Wayne a little later, your husband, and then Wilma Wynn in our second part of our program. Mimi, I've been looking forward to talking with you because for a long time we've known each other. I've known about your life. I know when you were a little girl, life wasn't really like perfection. Family wasn't just totally peaceful, and you had to go and deal with a lot of questions about what was normal in life and whether or not there was really a good future for you. Would you tell me about it?
Yes, Randy. My earliest memories were good for me because I didn't know anything else. My mother had been diagnosed as a paranoid schizophrenic, and any child who grows up in adverse circumstances, whether it be alcoholism or whatever the dysfunction is, has a real difficult time learning how to trust, because there is no normalcy, there is no continuity, nothing you can depend on. And when I was real little, I thought everybody lived like I did. Yeah. And it wasn't until I started school, about 5, 6 years old, that I started comparing myself to the other people in my class, what I wore, what I heard they did at their homes, television. And so, you know, in my 5, 6, 7 years old, I was really thinking, my house is not right. My mother is not right. And I had the tension of loving her and yet hating her behavior and rejecting her behavior. And when you're a little kid, that's a real difficult thing to bear. And I was unhappy a whole lot. I remember crying a lot. I remember praying. I had no concept, really, of God, of going to church on a normal basis, a regular basis. I would go and we visited family members 2 or 3 times a year.
What would Mom do?
Oh, goodness. Well, when she was having real difficult times, she thought everyone was trying to kill her. And so every door in our house was boarded shut like this with 2x4s. And so to get out of the house to go to school or whatever, I had to, there was a window that I knew that nobody else knew, that you could pull up and then crawl out and push back down, and I could trot off to school. When I was in high school, I had to do that when my dates would pick me up. I would push the window up, crawl out, wait on the neighbor's porch. The guy would pull in the driveway, and I'd get in the car. Because I was too embarrassed to say, well, we can't really open the front door because it's nailed shut. Other things, she thought our food was poisoned. So there were days that we couldn't eat what I thought we could eat. There was never consistency about that. It was just haphazard. When I was in the 5th grade, I remember she bought 100 cans of tuna fish. I don't know why she bought 100 cans of tuna fish, but she just got on a tear. That's kind of what, now I know that she was on one of the high points of being a paranoid schizophrenic, and she couldn't really control herself. So the house was always in chaos. We didn't have hot water. The kitchen didn't work. The refrigerator stopped working. We never got it fixed. And so if I wanted to have cereal in the morning, I would go to the freezer and pull the milk jug out and put it on the counter, and planning ahead for when I would have cereal in the morning. And a little kid shouldn't have to deal with stuff like that. Often the car wouldn't work, and I was constantly late to school because of that. And so about 6th grade, I just started going on my own, and I wouldn't depend on her.
How did it
anymore.
affect your brother?
Well, my mother had been married before when, 40s, and had 2 children. And that marriage ended in divorce after she was diagnosed as paranoid schizophrenic. And I don't know about the really early times with those 2 children, but I do know that they must have been horrifying. I had a relationship with my half-brother for a time, and I've never met my half-sister, though I would like to. When I was in the 5th grade, he came back into a relationship with my mother, and he was about 21, and they would fight all the time. He had a falling out with his father, her first husband, and so I'm going to go see my mom, because it can't be as bad as this, that's what he was thinking. Came into our home, and it was bad. I thought, I'm going to finally have a friend, someone who can bond with me against Mom, and we'll be rational. The thing I learned is you can never reason with someone who's crazy, because you're just beating your head against a brick wall. And finally, one thing led to another, and he committed suicide in 1978. And that's when a turning point in my life happened.
How old were you?
I was 18 years old.
Pick it up there.
Well, I had been invited to church when I was 14 by a neighbor lady, Maureen Morris, an angel from heaven to me. And when she came into my home and said, "Come on, let's go to church in the morning," I said, "Oh, no, I can't go. I don't have the right kind of clothes." Because you have to remember, Monday through Friday, I went to school with kids, and they dressed appropriately, and they had the right kinds of lunches. And my nickname at school was Flies, because my hygiene was so poor that flies would this is difficult for me to say, would hover around me. And so I didn't want to go to church and be with those kids one more day out of the week. And she said, "Come on, I'll make you lunch, and I'm going to have chocolate pie." Oh, I never had chocolate pie at my house. And so I said, okay. And I went to church, and I actually met people who didn't care what I had on, and built relationship with those folks, and met some good teenagers who showed me that what it's like to be a Christian, to live a Christian life.
Did this become your belonging place?
Yes. Yes, I met friends, I met adults, parents of teenagers at the church who would take me in. I would spend weeks at a time, and when my mother let me, and then she'd get angry about it, and then I'd have to go back home. And so it was kind of, I would just hope that it would be okay, and then something would happen, and I'd have to go home for a while. But when my brother committed suicide, the ladies at my church, these same women, said, "You've got to go off to a Christian college." And I said, I don't have a hope of going to a Christian college.
Didn't have any money?
I didn't have any money. I didn't have any of the stuff. I didn't have a ride to get there, And filling out the paperwork, imagine a crazy woman trying to fill out the paperwork, the financial aid forms. It just couldn't happen at my house. And so they said, it's going to happen, in spite of my protests. 4 days later, I was on the campus, and my life took off in a totally different direction.
It's a different direction. I heard a speech you gave to a university audience, I believe, in April a year ago, at the very university where you had been sent off when you were 18 years old. And you have a deep love for that university because of what happened and how they loved you and helped you from that point on. And it was so evident in your speech that day. Wayne Bernard, you had similar background, not in terms of parents, but in terms of needing someone to give you a belonging place, didn't you?
Well, the church was that for us because from the youngest memory for me, I was involved in church. And really my parents were the kind of people, and my home was the kind of place where people found refuge. And so I'd had that pattern for me all of my life, and youth group and church and Fifth Sunday singings and potlucks and all those great things were...
You had all along what Mimi
exactly.
started experiencing at the age of 14.
Exactly. You know, that's a foundation for me that I can't imagine not having. I don't know what life would be like to not have grown up in that kind of surrounding. Not only my nuclear family, but my extended family, grandparents, aunts, uncles. It's just always been a part of who we are. And that sense of belonging is a foundational strength that I really can't imagine not having.
You went through university, Mimi, and you two met. Is this Prince Charming, or is this something short of that?
Well, it depends on the day, Randy. I prayed when I was 15. I started praying to be a minister's wife, because I felt like I had gifts that would help a minister. I thought that'd be a good match. And then I always tell my students, be careful what you pray for, because you never know what's going to happen, and you might just get it. I met Wayne, and I was attracted to his integrity and his leadership qualities. And he was on time to things, and what he said, he did. And I looked around at the other folks, and that wasn't always the case. And so I had a list. I had a shopping list, and I wanted a man, a Christian man. I would have liked a good family, because I wanted a place for my children to grow and have Christmases and things like that. And I wanted a man of character and integrity. And so God blessed me in that. Wayne was my best friend. Through some other dating relationships, he was my best friend. And so it's turned into, yes, 16 years now that we've been married.
And you have children?
Katie is 10, and Colin will be 9 next week.
What is it that you tell them about your past, and especially in terms of your hopes for them? How do you talk about that with them?
Oh, when I look at them, Randy, they are God's richest blessing in my life, because it's like a chance to have it, what I didn't have, to experience it once again through them. And from the moment I held Katie in my arms, I understood my mother's love for me. I never did before that, because a parent does love a child, even if it doesn't feel like it. And so I'm very purposeful in what I do with my children. I buy books, I spend money, I invest in their character development. We have traditions in our home and celebrations in our home, and we model good behavior in our home and moral behavior, and we pray for little things and big things. And so I hope that the seeds I'm planting will flourish and grow into strong adult people.
You finished that speech to 4,000 college students with this line: I choose to be happy. My God is faithful and true. Go and be happy. Why did you tell them that?
Well, you have to understand, I teach college students, and I know what they want. All they want in this world is to be happy. And so they're trying to get an education or get a job or find the right person so they can be happy. And I think that's the wrong sort of goal. I think happiness is a byproduct.
Of what?
Well, of faithfulness. And sometimes happiness is joy. It's not necessarily the same thing as happiness. There's a Christian sort of joy that can be bittersweet, and that might be a better adjective for what I'm trying to say. But if you choose, in spite of the adversity that you've experienced in your life, if you choose to grab onto the grace that God will extend, to grab the hand of someone who goes before you, you can choose that, and you can pull yourself up. But you've got to make that choice. Lots of people say, well, I've had a bad life. How can I make things different? You have to choose and then pray, and I think God will bless that. But you've got to be willing to move.
You told them that some of them choose to do nothing.
That is a choice. A vacuum, not doing anything, is a choice. It's a passive choice, but it's still a choice.
Were you pushing them away from being a victim?
Yes, I think that is a victim sort of mentality. Woe is me. All my life it's been this way. You know, I don't have any say in what happens.
Okay.
And that's not so. I think that's Satan's lie. We have a big choice in what happens to us.
I want to ask you something, Wayne. Because of the background Mimi has described to us, has she brought something that's actually been a blessing to your marriage and to your children because of this memory, all these memories?
Oh, I think so. Mimi has a strength. She has a resiliency, which is not uncommon for people who grow up in dysfunctional homes and make a choice to survive. Not only survive, but to thrive. And those resiliencies that are in her are incredibly strong. Her humor, her wit, her drive, her ability to charge forth in life. Anything can be accomplished. Nothing stands in my way. Those are strengths that I was attracted to. And I think they're strengths that provide my children a really good role model for someone who's not just letting life happen to her. She's fully engaged in life and is a part of what happens.
How did Jesus Christ, the good news about God's love in your life, how did that start motivating you? You saw it in these people that we'll meet in just a few moments.
Well, you know, I remember Maureen, the first neighbor lady who took me to church, and she gave me a Bible, and I remember beginning to read it, and I said one night, Maureen, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, they're all the same story. And, you know, that's funny to you, but it was enlightening to me. And I would go to youth group meetings and Tuesday night Bible study, and we came to Ephesians where it says, obey your parents in the Lord. Well, that little prepositional phrase to me was licensed to be angry with my parents. You see, I would obey my parents, but only in the Lord. And that wasn't mature on my part, but I was a teenager trying to hang in there. Right. I grew through those turbulent teenage years, had good structure with my church extended family, weathered some storms that other people might not have because of that. And now I have a mature understanding of my mother's illness and how very difficult life must have been for her to have everything skewed through that mentally ill perspective.
She was frightened, wasn't she?
Yes, very frightened. Frightened of everything. And so now I can look back and I claim James 1 to the development of character through the adverse circumstances of life. And the scripture about joy coming in the morning. You have to endure some hardship for the joy to finally come.
There was a dark night of pain.
That's right.
But you've experienced now the joy in the morning. We're going to pick this story up and visit with Wilma Wynn, who was a key person that God used to show you His love. Wilma Wynn, thank you for visiting with us today. When did you first meet Mimi Bernard?
Well, I saw Mimi several times, and then I heard Mimi sing once, and I wondered, who is this girl?
She was a teenager, right?
Right. And then we worked together one summer in an office. And I don't know, there was just something between Mimi and I that we just kind of clicked. I think she was looking for someone to kind of hold on to. And she was a great person to have hold on, you know, real.
So the friendship was really a natural.
It really was.
It grew strong. What did you see in this girl? She had come from a family background where she didn't know what was normal. But what did you see that she was searching for?
Normalcy, wanting to find. Mimi, I think, knew that there was something better than, you know, what she was used to at home, and she was looking for that. But it was surprising to me that a person like Mimi, the way she, you know, the way her home life was, that she had so much going for her. She had the goals, the aims. It was just getting her going in the right direction.
She was a survivor, wasn't she?
She was.
Well, what did you provide for her? Now, you didn't want us to talk about yourself as a hero, and okay, we won't do that.
Okay.
But you must have, through your friendship and through your touch, shown her something of the love of God. You must have empowered her or encouraged her toward those goals that you could see in her life.
Well, I think it was a mother image, maybe, that she was looking for. Not that I'm saying I was the perfect mother by, you know,
but you had room for another person in your life, didn't you?
Right. And so Mimi and I got to know each other, and she started coming home with me. I would pick her up some mornings to take her to work. I called her my Cinderella girl because she would come out of this house in the morning, taking the rollers out of her hair. But she was always had a smile on her face. She'd have that beautiful voice. She'd sing on the way to work, and you'd never know that there was something really bad, you know, inside of the house. And
you called her your Cinderella girl.
My Cinderella girl.
Well, as God has built this young woman's life and now has given her this wonderful husband and children, you've got to feel some sense of gratitude and satisfaction that He used you as at
Right.
least one part of it.
That's right. And, you know, Mimi wanted that good husband, and when Wayne came around, we knew that Wayne could take care of Mimi.
All right, I want to turn now to our Bible focus guest today, Bobby Moore. Is there something in the New Testament that ties into this concept of a dark house or a chaotic period in your life, and Jesus being able to bring some cohesion and some unity to it?
Randy, as I keep hearing these ladies share this story, the story that just keeps coming to mind is the one where Jesus is going across the lake in a boat, and as he's crossing this lake, his boat lands in a graveyard. And as he and the apostles begin to get out of that boat, there was this man who was possessed by demons that just came running to him. And the demons began to say, do anything, just don't throw us out, just don't cast us out. So Jesus heals this man by casting the demons into these pigs. Well, the pig farmers that are watching them, they run back into town and they begin to share the story. And all the people from the city begin to come out and see what's going on. And as they make their way, this man that they had pushed out, this man that was the outcast, the one that they had threw and put chains on and threw him in a graveyard and said, don't come into our town, now see him sitting, sanely talking to Jesus, sitting there carrying on a conversation fully clothed. And the people of that city didn't like that. And they asked Jesus just to go ahead and get back on his boat and leave. But the man that was possessed ran up to Jesus, and as he ran up to Jesus, he said to him, can I go with you? And Jesus said, no, I need you to stay here and tell your story. And you see, I think, Mimi, that's so much what Jesus is using you for. Jesus has used you because you came out of the darkest place that you could come out of. You have come out and are ready to just share that story, to say how powerful God is. What an awesome God that He is. Randy, there's people that are watching today that are sitting there and they're at despair. And they're like Mimi's brother that say, I'd almost rather take my life than grab a hold of the grace of God.
Yeah.
And you see the difference in the lives. One ends in death, but Mimi has a life that just shares her heart and her love for Jesus.
Yes. Here's a young woman who remembers as a young girl the nickname. You remember the nickname she said. Painful to remember. The name Flies. But here's a child of God. Here's a very special, remade birth of new hope. If He can do it for you, can He do it for somebody else?
Yes, He can do it for the person who's sitting out there right now saying, that would never work for me. I have some reason, well, she doesn't know about such and such or whatever. Those nicknames, the snickering in the schoolyard. I was so angry, Randy. But I was a little kid. I couldn't fight back. If you can hold on to that anger, that can be turned into a positive energy, and God can bless that. And you can use that to get out of the darkness. And that is what I did with Wilma's help and other ladies at the church. They were positive role models.
You started walking with Jesus like you said, I want to go with Jesus.
That's right.
I don't know. Sometimes we hear so many religious words and people say, those are just words. You know, so many different confusing messages. It's just a bunch of garbage. I wish there was a way we could penetrate through, like your story does, to reality, which is that God remakes all of our lives if we're willing for Him to. It's easy to say that, but I personally have experienced that. And you have, and all of us. It's available. And it's not something that's rationed. It's not something that you have to be special to deserve. It's something that you need, and you have it because you need it. That's the nature of the love of God. That's why we've been having this program today. Wilma, what can you tell someone who today is listening to this story and saying, you know, I come out of a dark house too, and I don't have anywhere to go. I don't have anybody like a Wilma Wynn and her friends to love me and to make a place for me.
Well, I think you have to know that you need help and that
I hope
you're
you're
not
listening.
going to make it on your own.
I think it's hard to take the first step sometimes.
It
and
is
to
hard.
say, I'm coming from a dark place and I have secrets and there are things I don't want to talk about, but I need love, I need encouragement.
And you can get that from people, but you've always got to remember your Maker.
Yes.
And God intended us for us to help. He put us here for a purpose, and I think that's to help other people.
Thank you, Wilma Wynn. Thank you especially, Mimi, for being willing to tell this story. And thank you, Wayne Bernard, for being here. And thank you, Bobby Moore, for anchoring us to something that's first century, that's also 21st century. And thank you for being with us today. The church is more like a family when it's functioning the way God has designed it than it is anything else. It's made up of people who've said yes to Jesus Christ. I want you to remake my life. The church, those who are being saved by God. I don't know what you're thinking today. Maybe your life has gone back to a memory that's bad. I don't know what your adversity is, but I know this. In Jesus Christ, it is not only possible, it is absolutely going to happen. You will be an overcomer. That's really who Mimi Bernard is, by the power of Jesus Christ. Being a Christian means that Jesus takes all the broken places, all the dislocated parts, and He gives it a unity and a harmony, and it works again. God is willing to give you this change in your life if you'd like to have it. He can take all the discordant harmonies and make them a beautiful symphony. Now, it may not happen all at once, but He will do it. I want you to take the time and call us today. We'll help you. Be with us next time on Hope for Life's Journey. We'll be looking for you.